In the year 2007, we had many shows that cemented themselves and came out being some of the most memorable anime to this day. Afro Samurai, Gurren Lagann, Clannad, to name a few. These shows were not only iconic for how entertaining they were, but some were even genre defining, setting a new gold precedent for what a show in this niche could be like. During this time, there were also many recurring shows to air that picked up where it last left off, like Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and even Gintama. But above all, sitting in a desolate plain separate from everyone else, we had School Days. I think we all know how School Days went.
The first 11 episodes was just like, I think I need anger management right now.
Yeah.
Because oh my god, I hate the main character so much.
Oh
and then,
my god,
and then
I hated
like
him.
the fucking orgasm you got at episode 12 where what happened happens and you're like, oh
Yeah.
Oh god. Nice boat. Anime films during that time weren't really memorable. Out of the 5 to 10 movies to be released that year, I found really 3, no, maybe 4 to be really good. However, the one to catch my eye amidst all these films is a movie titled Sword of the Stranger. So what's so special about Sword of the Stranger? Why is it that whenever any debate about the best sword fights come up, this film always gets shoved into the limelight? Why is it by many considered a must-watch film within the community? Sword of the Stranger was one of the most character-driven and exciting films I have watched in a very long time. There's fight sequences that demand your attention, characters you can't help but root for, and a hidden story among the one that's being told. Today, I'm going to be telling you about this film and why it's so great. This is Sword of the Stranger. Sword of the Stranger is a story that's been done in a variety of different ways. Narratively, it follows the typical vagabond character hunted from his past who seeks atonement. If that sounds unfamiliar to you, think about outlaws and cowboys in the Wild West, but instead of guns, in this case, it's samurais and swords. The story takes place during the Sengoku period, and the film opens with a boy, a dog, and this monk running frantically from something. In the background, you can see what was once their home is now engulfed in flames. Only when they feel they've covered enough distance, the monk gives this kid this orb and tells him to travel to the Mangoku temple. In the province of Akaiki, we now see the boy and his dog doing anything they can to survive. Headed back to their safe house to eat, they spot a wandering man sleeping. Their interaction isn't anything noteworthy. Guy asking for some food, kid refuses, dog offers his food, and they get ambushed. Amid their fighting, one of the floor panels breaks and the guy throws 2 knives at the vagabond. The dog saves him by catching the first and the second snipping the top of his fur. After the fight, it turns out the knives he threw had poison inflicted on them, causing the dog to be in a paralyzed state. As a way to save his dog, the kid offers the man the orb he got from the monk that values up to 10 ryo in exchange for him to take them to the temple of Shirata and to find an apothecary. This is kind of how their traveling journey begins. As the story progresses, we get a taste of how alive the world is. We see how the locals spend their everyday life, the conflict and hatred that Japanese and Chinese have towards each other, and the reasoning behind are they Beyblading? What? And the reasoning behind why Chinese mercenaries and swordsmen walk freely in the land of Japan. A couple of years ago, the Emperor of China sent his strongest men to the island of Japan in hopes of finding this kid Kotaro. Why are they looking for him? Well, that'll be a spoiler, but just know it involves whatever the hell this is. For most of the film, the story consists of us following Kotaro and the swordsman, but behind that, we also see the internal struggles between the Japanese and Chinese. We see each side's power struggles, how they operate, as well as personal battles of trauma and wanting to improve as a person. One of the most noticeable things about this film is its ability to develop full-fledged characters with the little time it had. Take the Nameless Wanderer for example, who later in the film we find out is called Nanashi. Despite being a really good swordsman, he didn't learn it to have status like most samurais. He learned it as a means to simply survive in the world he's in. He never knew what his real name was, it always changed whenever he switched provinces. But at some point, in all the wars he's been a part of, he slowly began to realize the harsh reality of death and came to despise using a sword. To the point where throughout the story, we see he never unsheathes his sword ever. Only being with Kotaro, he finds a new meaning, and this sort of becomes like a redemption / atonement for the sins he committed. There's Kotaro who, despite being a kid, matures into someone you can respect by the end of the film, and the dynamic he shares with his dog is nothing short but wholesome. There's also the side cast of characters who some are loyal to a T, and would even go as far as to die for their emperor, and there's others who can't bear the current status they have and wish to gain more. The characters in this film each have their own unique story and are authentic to who they are. Especially Lulong. To be honest, he isn't really a deep character, he just loves fighting.
Sorry about that, must have slipped from my sweaty hand. What do you say? There's no fulfillment in merely watching. Why not get some exercise?
Now you fucked up!
Of course.
Now you fucked
don't
up!
Understand a word I'm
Now
saying.
you fucked up! You have fucked up now! Now you fucked up!
Fetch me a sword!
Cinematography is the art of motion picture photography, the ability to tell and craft a compelling story, not only narratively, but from a visual standpoint as well. It's crucial in creating the visual tone and mood of a film. It helps set the scene, establish its characters, convey the emotions and overall message of the story. Sword of the Stranger is so pristine and deliberate with its scene choices and use of camera work. From the landscape shots to the use of perspective to add emphasis to a certain scene to the way they incorporate words and characters is all done great. For example, in this scene, this was the very first time Nanashi crossed paths with the main antagonist of the story. In their initial crossover, Nanashi intentionally turns in a different direction to avoid running into any of them. Lou responds by throwing a knife purposely aimed at his saddle, not as a mean to hit him, but as a way to grab his attention. This works, making him pause and look back. Lou comes into frame as they stand across from each other. We see Lou slowly unsheath his sword, bringing tension and a sense of danger to the scene. As the scene continues, the music in the background slowly rises and the kids who were once playing can't help but shift their gaze at this scene. The time of day is a bit cloudy, but a bit of sunlight is still visible. To set the tone even more, a large cloud hovers over the characters, and in that brief moment, the guy who is fishing finally gets a catch, signifying the green light for them to begin fighting. Until the fisherman rod snaps, causing an end to the scene and the end to their fight. This scene was good for a variety of factors. The ability to create tension and evoke a feeling of urgency by using elements of outsiders is done so well. The use of music and the way each character talks, walks, and stares at each other is all to help construct the scene. There's also another scene where Kotaro and Nanashi is camping when they realize they've been followed. So as a way to bait them in, he has Kotaro tell him a story of his experience with foreigners. The thing that makes this scene so well is the use of making his story co-align with the scene at hand. As the story is being told, we see the mercenaries slowly moving closer. Their swords shine for a brief moment, reflecting off of the moon, and when the story reaches its climax, as soon as Kotaro says, "Attack," the battle starts. Moments like these are what makes the film so good. It's the attention to detail and the clear passion that went into writing this story. There are many moments like these scattered across the film, but I think it's something you should go and experience for yourself. The film doesn't hold your hand and recite the most obvious things to you. It lets you figure out what the hell is going on based on the context clues given to you. Far too many shows, not just anime, would have meaningless dialogue as recaps despite having seen everything that's being told 5 minutes ago. But in this film, nope, not in this movie. I can appreciate this movie for not making me feel like an adolescent child. Speaking of child, it's gotta be the worst segment transition ever. If narratively the film isn't doing it for you, people beat the hell out of each other. Oh, you're getting zoned and spammed by arrows? How about grabbing a dead body and blitzing them to close the distance? Got put in the center of a ton of enemies? Psh. Just stick your scythe on one of their heads and use their body to create space. The fights in Sword of the Stranger are mesmerizing, graphic, and makes good use of its surrounding environment. The most iconic fight in this film that really gave this anime the title of having the best sword fight is the final fight between Nanashi and Lu. I'm not gonna spoil too much about the fight since it's better to watch on your own and experience for yourself, but what I love about this fight is that while it is very well animated, the fight also tells a story in itself. Lu and Nanashi on surface may seem like two completely different characters, but surprisingly, they share a lot of similarities. This fight displays their personalities, reasonings, and goals. If you watch the film, you'll know this fight wasn't really necessary. By the time this happens, everything that was, I guess, a conflict got resolved. But the fight acts as a way for both fighters to progress in their life and achieve their own personal goal. Overall, Sword of the Stranger is a captivating film that was kind of ahead of its time. It was animated by Bones and was based off of, well, nothing. It's an anime original. Watching the film, you can see the amount of thought and effort that was put into it. Like how they designed each character, the use of getting actual Chinese voice actors to voice Chinese characters. The story may not be the most original, but I found it to be not too bad. If you haven't already seen it, I highly suggest you watch it.
Now you fucked up!
Of course.
Now you fucked
don't
up.
understand a word I'm
Now
saying.
you fucked up!
That poses a
You
good
have
problem.
fucked up now!